What is up, YouTube? My name is Rome Bracey, and in today's video, I will be going over the top 15 receivers heading into the 2021 season. And this is my first video in a month. I've been making some upgrades. If you have a good time consuming this content, please smash that like button and give me your comments down below. So getting right into it, I want to start with some honorable mentions. Now, obviously, there's some guys on this honorable mentions list that are going to be top 15 receivers in 2021. But this is a list of receivers that have the most momentum kind of going into 2021. So I'm making this list based on last year's production. And since these guys weren't even on the field most of the time, they did not make the cut. I do believe Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, those are the real injury-riddled guys that I think will end up being in that top 15. But Robert Woods and Tyler Lockett were healthy last season. They just didn't make the cut. There's all kinds of wide receiver talent in the NFL today, and I just don't think Tyler Lockett and Robert Woods will end up in that top 15. Now, Tyler Lockett is interesting because he had a season where he had over 100 catches and double-digit touchdowns, but we all know that there are games where this guy just disappears. He'll have, I think he had 6 games under 50 yards last year, and that's just, he needs to become more consistent of a player. And as Robert Woods goes, I think he's a great receiver, but we already kind of know what he is. We know what his ceiling is. We've never seen him surpass, get into the 1,500-yard range or anything like that. But he's a possession receiver, and he's going to be a great target for Matthew Stafford, but he lacks the true explosiveness to make this list. So here are my top 15 wide receivers from 15 to 11. We're going to start at number 15 here with CeeDee Lamb. I know that's really high up for him, but after a rookie campaign where he has 900 yards, I think he can really make that jump in his second year. He was my favorite receiver of the 2020 draft class without a doubt, and he can truly line up anywhere. They primarily like to use him in the slot while Amari Cooper is on the outside. And with Dak Prescott at quarterback, he was on a 1,400-yard pace, and even without Dak, he finished with 900 yards, like I said, with Andy Dalton. In the slot, and with a Cowboys offense that has a lot of weapons, you're not going to see him getting double teamed. There's going to be a lot of single coverage for CeeDee Lamb, and he's an elite route runner who can make contested catches. The real question going into the season is he going to be able to surpass Amari Cooper for that number one receiving role in Dallas? And I think he has a real opportunity and a real chance to do that. So I've got CeeDee Lamb at number 15 heading into 2021. And at number 14, I have Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore, who's getting improved quarterback play with Sam Darnold and already has shown to be one of the most explosive receivers in the NFL. He only had, about 70 catches last year, but he puts incredible yards after catch. So he finished with around 1,000 yards last year, and he should take a huge step forward with Curtis Samuel leaving and vacating those targets. I understand Christian McCaffrey will be back this next year, so maybe there's not too many targets to go around, but you can say, DJ Moore is probably primed to be the number one receiver in this offense. DJ Moore finished with 66 catches and 1,193 yards with 4 touchdowns. And to turn 66 catches into almost 1,200 yards shows you how explosive he is. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the league, so 14 could be too low. I'm sure the yardage total is going to be probably top 10 in the league. And with Sam Darnold this year, sky is the limit. He just really hasn't gotten a chance to get the volume that a number one wide receiver deserves. And I think he's going to be making a lot of home run plays in 2021, as well as scoring more than 4 touchdowns. He's been pretty unlucky in the touchdown department, so I expect those to go up as well in 2021. And we have another Cowboys receiver at number 13, Amari Cooper. Another guy that's kind of forgotten about in the league. He quietly had another 1,000-yard season last year without his quarterback one. And although all the hype is around CeeDee Lamb, we all know that Amari Cooper can still play at a very high level. He's an elite route runner, and he can get separation from defensive backs. He's still, like I said, still a high-level route runner, and he knows how to get open. He's very clearly not the most athletic guy, but he can make some incredible catches and easily separate from defensive backs. He did have a career-high 92 receptions last year, and like I said, that's without his quarterback one. He's still, in that prime age, so I expect Amari Cooper to have another big year in totality with that whole Cowboys passing attack. So moving on to my number 12 guy, I've got Mike Evans of the Buccaneers. Now, number 12 is pretty low for him. I obviously don't think he's the 12th best receiver in the league, but there's so many mouths to feed there in Tampa Bay. I don't know how he's going to be able to put up incredible numbers that I know he can, like he did with Jameis, with Tom in this offense. So he saw a career low 109 targets last season. Like I said, that's purely just because they have so many weapons. They have Antonio Brown. They have Gronk. Now they have O.J. Howard, who's going to be healthy for them this year. I just don't see how Mike Evans is going to be able to finish in that top 10 range. He's obviously one of the best red zone threats in the game. He can easily post 15 touchdowns next year, but if anybody wants to line up one-on-one with him, then he's going to go up and moss that guy. But unfortunately, he does not get the volume, so I cannot rank him higher than 12th on this list. But speaking of volume, we've got a guy who got a ton of it at this number 11 spot, and that's Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. Tyrod Taylor going out last year with that punctured lung was really just a blessing in disguise for Keenan Allen and this entire Chargers offense with Justin Herbert coming on. And he's known for being one of the most underrated players in the league. At number 11, it's probably a little bit too low for him, but Keenan Allen is nearing his 30s, and it does feel low, like I said, but he's the most technical receiver at the position. He doesn't beat you with speed and athleticism, but he has very precise route running, and he had an average of 10.5 targets last season. So if he keeps that pace, he's going to be putting up monster numbers with over 100 catches again, and he has Herbert throwing in the ball, and Herbert knows he wants to get it to Keenan Allen more than anyone on the entire roster. So I think Keenan Allen has another great year in 2021. All right, so getting into the top 10 here, we've got 10 through 6, starting with number 10 of the Washington football team. One of my favorite receivers, really, Terry McLaurin. And he has been unbelievable in his first 2 seasons with absolutely terrible quarterback play. And he kind of reminds me of Allen Robinson in that way. He played with Blake Bortles for most of his beginning of his career. Hopefully he gets better treatment than Allen Robinson, because Allen Robinson still has a subpar quarterback. He went from Bortles to Trubisky, and now at least Terry McLaurin is getting somewhat of an upgrade in Ryan Fitzpatrick, someone who can actually throw for passing yards, throw for touchdowns, and help his receivers. So Terry McLaurin is looking to be in a better spot in 2021. Usually when you play well with terrible quarterback play, that's a pretty good indicator that you're a star, you're one of the top receivers in the league. There's not too many guys that can do that. He's pretty clearly the number one there. Washington did sign Curtis Samuel, but I really see Terry McLaurin, even taking another step forward possibly. He should see an easy 140 targets with Fitzmagic. So I can see 1,400 yards and over 10 touchdowns this season. I think that's in the realm of possibilities for Terry McLaurin. His talent is apparent, and he finally has someone who's capable of feeding him the ball. So in a weak NFC East, especially a weak defensive NFC East, there shouldn't be too many guys that can line up across from McLaurin and play him one-on-one. I expect a big season from Terry, and I would have him on your fantasy teams. So moving on to number 9, we've got one of the most popular players in the NFL right now, which is Justin Jefferson. Arguably produced the most productive rookie wide receiver season of all time, and he's truly just unbelievable. And the fact that he did that when the first 2 games, they pretty much just didn't use Justin Jefferson. He had 6 catches for 72 yards in the first 2 games, but then he finished averaging 6 catches and 95 yards per week in a given game. So 6 catches for 95 yards is not too bad on a weekly basis. And when you're averaging almost 100 yards, that is elite. He had 88 catches for 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns. Obviously, the 1,400 yards is a rookie record, 88 catches. There shouldn't be a slow start to 2021 like there was in 2020. So who knows what the actual ceiling is going to be for Justin Jefferson. The Vikings will throw a lot, and there's not anyone else to throw the ball to. You have, Adam Thielen, who's aging a little bit. I think Justin Jefferson is pretty clearly the alpha at this point in the offense. So I think Justin Jefferson can easily land in that top 5, top 10 spot for you. The Vikings defense isn't that great, so Kirk Cousins is going to be slinging the rock. I know they have Dalvin Cook, but when it comes to passing, I see them being down in games, so they should be passing more. The third wide receiver option is Irv Smith, so I think Justin Jefferson really just goes crazy and surpasses that 1,400 yards that he had this year. Moving on to number 8, we have Allen Robinson, and in my opinion, he's probably the most underrated receiver in the league. And like I said, that's due to him playing on poor teams, him playing with poor quarterbacks, and just not really getting the recognition he deserves. He is in a contract dispute with Chicago. Actually, they refused to franchise tag him, not franchise tag him. They refused to extend him. So I just don't really understand that. He's still pretty young. He's had an ACL tear, and he's still elite. Like, this guy is one of the best receivers in the league. He's going to get the heavy volume, although he doesn't have a great quarterback. And he finished with 151 targets last season, which is third in the league in 2020. So he did finish that 2020 season with 102 receptions, 1,250 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So a very, very productive season. He now gets quarterback Andy Dalton stepping in, at least for the first half of the season. But if Justin Fields comes in, that is only going to help his offense explode. At number 7, we have Tennessee Titans wide receiver A.J. Brown. I probably would have put him top 5 if Julio Jones didn't join the team. He's clearly the number 1 on the team. At least he was before they signed Julio. I really think A.J. Brown is going to be able to go absolutely bananas. Even with Julio on the team, there's just not enough targets to go around for anybody else. It's going to be him and Julio. They traded Jonnu. They traded Corey Davis. I think they added Josh Reynolds, so he'll be a nice wide receiver 3 option, but A.J. Brown should get all the volume, and he has yet to receive the volume, really, the past couple of seasons. So with Jonnu leaving, with Corey Davis leaving, and now with Julio stepping in, he had 70 receptions with 1,075 yards and 11 touchdowns last season. And that was just on 106 targets. So let's assume he's going to get, at least 30 more targets. I mean, who knows? He can score 15 touchdowns, maybe 16 touchdowns. If he can get up to that 130 target range, it's going to be a scary, explosive season for A.J. Brown. Just looking at a stretch of last season from the 5 games where he did actually receive 9+ targets, if we put that into a 16-game pace, he would have finished with 115 catches, 1,792 yards, and 16 touchdowns. I don't think there's much left to be said about that, but if anything, Julio is going to relieve the pressure off of A.J. Brown, and he should have a great year in 2021. And at number 6, I have his teammate, DK Metcalf, who really polished his game as a true wide receiver in 2020. He had that year that he needed to show people that he's not just, a big body out there. He had 1,783 air yards, which was number 2 in the league, 31 deep targets, which is pretty crazy. When you use a big guy like that, it's mostly for the red zone, but DK Metcalf has a rare combination of speed and size. So they love to use this guy in the red zone. They love to throw deep balls to him, and he averaged 15.7 yards per catch, so you can see why. He finished with 83 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns, which is still an unbelievable stat line. Coming in at the number 5 spot, we have Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley. And, the top 5 are going to be the elite of the elite. So he's clearly the number 1 option in Atlanta with Julio gone. And to be honest with you, that doesn't even really matter. He was already elite with Julio there. Last season, he had 90 catches for 1,374 yards and 9 touchdowns. 9 touchdowns for a guy like Calvin Ridley is great because he's not someone that is, necessarily a red zone threat or someone who can, go up and grab the ball in the red zone. So I think 9 touchdowns is good. That's mainly because he's an explosive wide receiver. You could argue he was already the one playing alongside with Julio Jones. And in those 7 games where Julio missed last year, he averaged 7 catches for 109 yards per game. And Calvin Ridley has just been putting up numbers the past couple of seasons. And with Julio gone and Falcons being absolutely terrible, he can really just set a career high for targets and have an incredible year. Julio's targets are gone, but I do suspect that most of them will go to rookie tight end Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage, who will have a bigger role, but I don't think they're going to be heavily targeting him. And he doesn't not get the credit that he deserves, and I'm confident he's going to finish top 5 in the position of pretty much every receiving category. He's one of the game's best route runners. The Falcons have zero running game at all. And like all of these guys, health is going to be of the most importance. Calvin Ridley does have some injury-riddled seasons, so we will see if he'll be able to continue to stay healthy going into 2021. I anticipate that he will, so watch out for Calvin Ridley having a big season in 2021. Along with this next guy at the number 4 spot, DeAndre Hopkins. At this point, from top 4, you can argue any of these guys for the number 1 spot. He's one of the NFL's top receivers, and Kyler Murray knew right away as soon as he arrived he's going to start peppering him. And he fed him 160 targets last year with a 29% target share. So he's going to be an absolute volume machine, and he'll have plenty more touchdowns in 2021, I suspect, than he did in 2020, where he only finished with 6. So his 115 catches is really impressive. I think he can do more with those catches. If you watched the Cardinals last year, he had a lot of throws where they would seemingly throw it to him right off the line of scrimmage, and there wouldn't be too many options for him to go. So I think he's going to have a better year, maybe less receptions, but more yards, more touchdowns. His 547 yards after the catch were second in the NFL, and I think he's really starting to play around with defenders after the catch. You see him holding the ball in one hand right there in the picture. He actually does that in the NFL. He runs around like he's LaShawn McCoy, and his consistency is unmatched and has been top 3 pretty much in any of the receiver categories over the past 5 seasons. No matter where he goes or who's throwing him the football, Hopkins will always dominate. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best receivers to ever play this game, and in 2021, I expect nothing different. Coming in at this number 3 spot, we have Tyreek Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs. He finished with 87 receptions, 1,276 yards, and 17 total touchdowns to lead the NFL among receivers last year. Some of his unique stats: he had 32 deep targets, which is number 2 in the NFL. You're obviously going to target this guy deep. His transformation from when he first entered the league to where he's at now is truly unbelievable, to be honest with you. He came in as a special teamer, just a kick return guy, but he's really developed the skills and put in the work to become an elite route runner, a guy who's smart, identifies coverages, and gets open. He's playing alongside, the best tight end in the game, along with arguably the best quarterback in the game. And the receiver behind Tyreek Hill is now Mecole Hardman. He is going to get an incredible amount of volume yet again. He's easily the most explosive receiver in the NFL that can turn any play into 6 points. So he showed his real receiving skills, like I was saying, in 2020. And 203 receiving yards in 1 quarter is unbelievable. We've never seen a ceiling like that for any NFL player. And he's polished everything about his receiving game, and he's dominating because he's put in the work. He has the ability to break insane records we thought could never be broken. So who even knows what's in store for us for Tyreek Hill in 2021? I really think he's a top 5 talent and one of the best receivers I've ever seen. So moving on to the number 2 guy, we have Buffalo Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs. And I think this guy surprised everybody last season when he went just absolutely crazy with Josh Allen and pretty much turned him into an elite quarterback. 127 catches, which is going to top the league. 1,535 yards, tops the league. And 8 touchdowns, which isn't too bad. He did finish number 1 in targets with 168. And in weeks 14 through 16, he had games where he had 130 yards, 147 yards, and 145 yards. That is just a dominating stretch when you need it the most. And Stephon Diggs is a true dog, a route runner, a guy you want on your team. He's really just everything you need in a receiver. And I don't know why people thought he would be so bad with Josh Allen. I mean, I see why, just because it was really Josh Allen's talent that we were questioning. And Diggs has always played alongside Thielen, so we really didn't know what was going to happen. But he's coming off the best year of his career in a year where many thought he was going to fail. The opposite happened, and he made Josh Allen look like a league MVP. He has an elite skill set, like I said, with that dog mentality. He's going to let you know about it if he passes you, if he scores on you. He's pretty much uncoverable one-on-one. You don't want to do that for your defense. And he's going to continue to be Josh Allen's favorite target in a pass-heavy Buffalo Bills offense who did not draft a running back. So I think the same type of passing volume is headed his way. Hey, that extra game, who knows what Stephon Diggs can do? We're looking at 140 catches. I mean, we'll see. But I just really, really am high on Stephon Diggs. So I look forward to his 2021 season. And we have finally made it to the number one wide receiver heading into 2021. There's only one guy really left, so I'm sure you know who's coming, and that is Davante Adams of the Green Bay Packers. The consistency that this guy has shown throughout his career is unbelievable. You know, he may have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, but, you know, not too many guys could do what he's done. He is easily, you know, his touchdowns don't make sense to me. You know, he's not a big guy, but he scores in the red zone unbelievably. Rodgers looks for him in the red zone, and over the past 3 seasons, he's averaged 121 catches, 1,466 yards, and 14 touchdowns per 16 games. And that is just an unbelievable, consistent pace that no other receiver can compete with. And he is the touchdown king at the receiver position. 18 touchdowns in just 14 games in 2020. And if Aaron Rodgers returns, we can expect more of the same from the most consistent receiver weapon in the league. Now, that's a big question mark if Aaron Rodgers comes back or not. So if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, I still think he's an elite talent. He's an elite receiver. He's going to get his. But obviously not as much as he would if Aaron Rodgers was there. I would push him back if Aaron Rodgers is not going to be a part of the team, but I anticipate he will in 2021. And those are my top 15 wide receiver rankings. Keep tuning in for more lists and rankings. I'm going to start posting 3 times a week, so getting back on it. And if you liked it, if you enjoyed the content, please smash that like button and subscribe. Much appreciated. Thank you for watching.